Have you ever felt a deep sense of confusion when your goodwill is met not with gratitude, but with a strange and unsettling resistance? You extend your support, you offer a listening ear, yet you are met with dismissiveness, suspicion, or actions that seem to work against the very connection you try to build. There is a profound perspective on human nature that may bring clarity to this experience. Most of us are taught that a kind heart will naturally inspire kindness in others. But a deeper look into our inner worlds reveals a challenging insight. Your compassionate nature may actually be what stirs discomfort in them. Stay with me, because in understanding this, you will not only see the hidden currents behind why good intentions can be poorly received, but more importantly, you will learn how to protect your own inner peace from becoming disturbed by your generosity. A piece of ancient wisdom holds a key that many find difficult to grasp. Every person carries an inner world, with landscapes of light and valleys of shadow. The less we consciously walk through these inner valleys, the darker and more vast they seem to be. But what does this mean for you when all you offer is compassion? Here is the transformative insight. When you consistently offer patience and understanding to another, you are not simply being helpful. You become a still lake, reflecting their own inner landscape back to them. Your calmness becomes a mirror to the inner turmoil they may not be ready to see. From a space of deep awareness, we find that this inner landscape holds all the parts of ourselves we have pushed away, the experiences we have not made peace with. And this is where the dynamic becomes complex. When someone encounters your genuine presence, their inner voice may not say, "What a wonderful soul." Instead, it might whisper, "This person's peace highlights my own unrest. Their stillness makes me feel my own turbulence." This can lead them to project their own inner storm onto you. You begin to feel like an adversary, not because of anything you have done, but because of the inner quiet you represent. But this psychological current runs even deeper. There is a timeless teaching. The most profound journey is to fully embrace oneself. Your calm presence can gently invite people to face the parts of themselves they have long kept hidden. Think on this. When you are patient with someone who is full of irritation, or compassionate toward one who is judging, you are quietly showing them another way to be. This is a profound truth about our human patterns. Most people would rather cling to a familiar state of being, even if it is a negative one, than face the discomfort of inner change. Your tranquility can feel like a threat to their established identity. Instead of feeling inspired, they may feel deeply diminished. And sometimes, the only way their ego knows how to restore its balance is to try and disturb your waters, to pull you down. But here is the part that offers true understanding. The more centered you are, the more clearly you may reflect their inner imbalance. And the more you reflect it, the more they might need to convince themselves and others that your peace is not real, that it's a mask, a performance, or that you have some secret agenda. The human mind can weave intricate narratives just to avoid facing the truth that your inner state reveals about its own capacity for change. And this leads to a most illuminating piece of wisdom. An old saying goes, "Everything that agitates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." But what happens when your compassion agitates people? What does this reveal? Here is an insight into the human condition. Most people navigate life wearing a kind of armor, a shield they present to the world to feel safe. This armor might be made of cynicism, of being always right, or of a hardened view of reality. When you appear with a genuinely open heart, you are walking without such armor. This creates a powerful dissonance for those who feel trapped behind their shields. From a place of deep awareness, we see that your authentic nature can make their armor feel heavy and false. They cannot admit this to themselves, so you become the source of their discomfort. But here the pattern twists. You will find that people often criticize the very qualities in you that a part of them longs for. They may label your compassion as weakness, your patience as passivity, and your understanding as a lack of worldly wisdom. Why? Because acknowledging your strength would mean acknowledging the limitations of their own armor. They are casting their own inner conflicts onto you. Their frustration is not truly with your open heart. It is with their own inability to lay down their shield. And this brings us to a vital realization. A master once said, "Your clarity is found not by looking outward, but by looking within." One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. But what happens when your awakened state disturbs another's dream? Here is an observation about human growth. Many people move through life on currents of habit, following the crowd, meeting expectations, and never questioning the patterns of their own mind. One could say they are walking in a state of sleep. When you show up with consistent compassion, you are demonstrating the process of awakening, the journey of becoming truly yourself. This can be deeply unsettling for those who have not begun their own inner work. Your growth illuminates their stagnation. Your inner light illuminates their comfortable darkness. And here is the heart of it. We see that people will sometimes unconsciously try to disrupt those who are further along on their path of self-awareness. It is rarely a conscious choice. It is an unconscious pull to bring you back to their level of comfort. This explains why the more inner work you do, the more some may seem to resent you. The more you develop emotional balance, the more they may try to provoke your old reactions. The more you heal, the more they may poke at your scars. This leads to a most important point of caution. Ancient traditions speak of collective energies, shared patterns of thought and behavior that flow through a culture. When you consistently choose compassion in a world that often rewards competition, you are moving against these powerful collective currents. This can make you seem like a challenge to the established way. Your compassionate way of being suggests that another reality is possible, and this can be terrifying for those whose entire sense of self is built upon the existing system. And this is where the insight deepens. Within these collective patterns lies a recurring theme, the need to cast out what is different. When you are a calm presence in a turbulent world, you can become an easy focus for this dynamic. People can project their unaddressed feelings of frustration, fear, and self-judgment onto you. They may convince themselves that you are the issue, not the system that shaped their unease. This is why a person with a good heart often becomes a target. Your presence doesn't just stir individuals, it can stir the dynamics of a whole group. People may unite against you, not for what you have done, but for the different way of being you represent. And this brings us to the most vital question. The privilege of a lifetime is to be who you truly are. But what if being who you are makes others feel discomfort? Here is a profound truth. The people who resist your compassion are actually showing you something crucial about yourself. They are revealing where you might be giving away your power, where you might be seeking their approval through your acts of service. True compassion flows from a place of fullness, not a place of need. It arises from having healthy, clear boundaries, not from a desire to please everyone. But here is the truth we must be willing to face. Sometimes people react negatively because what we are offering isn't truly compassion. It's a form of control. It could be said that you are attempting to manage their perception of you by being the good one. This is the challenge of the helper. When your giving is motivated by a desire to get something back, approval, acceptance, love, you are not acting from an authentic space. You are performing an act of kindness, and people have a deep sense of when something is not genuine. This kind of performative giving can actually stir more resistance than authentic compassion, because it feels like a subtle manipulation, a hidden contract. So, how can you know the difference? A wise teaching reminds us, I am not defined by what has occurred to me. I am defined by what I choose to become. And this is where this wisdom becomes transformative. Here is what can be learned about navigating these difficult dynamics. The first step is to recognize that their reaction to your compassion is not a measure of your worth. It is a reflection of their own inner state. It is about their own unhealed parts, their own fears. Once you deeply understand this, you can choose how to respond. You can continue to be a source of goodwill, but from a foundation of inner strength, not a position of weakness. And here is the essential part. You must also gently examine your own intentions. Is your compassion flowing because it is true to your nature, or because you seek a certain outcome? This is the work of inner honesty. You must face the part of yourself that seeks validation through being helpful. You must look at the part of you that needs to be seen as the good one in every interaction. Only when you have made peace with your own inner complexities can you offer true compassion without any expectation. And this leads to a profound liberation. The wisdom says, everything that agitates us in others can lead to an understanding of ourselves. But what if that agitation is teaching you the importance of boundaries? Here is an insight into healthy connections. True compassion requires strong and clear boundaries. When you are giving without boundaries, it is not compassion, it is a form of entanglement. You are unintentionally allowing others to project their inner struggles onto you. From a space of observation, we see that balanced people appreciate genuine compassion because it doesn't threaten them. Unbalanced people are threatened by it because it shines a light on their own issues. And here is the turning point. When you cultivate strong inner boundaries, you can be compassionate without becoming a target. You can show empathy without absorbing the emotional state of others. This is the art of differentiation. You remain fully yourself while allowing others to be fully themselves. You do not take on their emotional burdens. You do not try to rescue them or change them. And this changes everything. When your goodwill flows from a place of fullness, not weakness, people respond differently. They cannot project their feelings of lack onto you because you are not trying to prove anything. But there is still more to this path. There is a law of the mind. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life, and you will call it destiny. And one of the most unconscious patterns is the dance of the victim and the rescuer. Let us look into this draining cycle. Many who are met with hostility for their generosity are actually playing the part of the rescuer. They are subconsciously looking for others to save. This creates a dynamic where the one being saved eventually resents the rescuer, because the foundation of the relationship is unequal. And here is the challenging twist. The rescuer often unconsciously chooses people who will eventually turn on them because, in a hidden part of their mind, they may feel they deserve to be punished for feeling superior. This can be a form of unconscious self-sabotage. The person is recreating old patterns where perhaps they were not celebrated for their strengths. This is why the same dynamic repeats itself. If you continually attract people who resent your compassion, it is wise to ask if you are unconsciously choosing them. You may be seeking those who will confirm your deepest, unexamined beliefs about yourself. And this brings us to the ultimate truth. Your task is not to search for love or approval, but to find and dismantle all the inner barriers you have built against it. And this same truth applies to compassion. Here is the final insight. The goal is not to stop being a kind person. The goal is to remove the inner patterns that make your kindness a target for others' pain. These inner patterns can include seeking validation through your good deeds, trying to control how others see you, saving others to feel needed, or lacking the boundaries that protect your own spirit. But here is the beautiful part. When you remove these inner barriers, your compassion becomes a powerful force. It flows from a place of abundance, not emptiness. It arises from strength, not weakness. This form of authentic compassion is rarely met with resentment because it does not threaten anyone. It does not make people feel inadequate because it has no agenda. And this is where your transformation begins. The deepest challenge is to fully accept oneself. And when you accept yourself completely, including your own complexities, your compassion becomes an unshakable mountain. Authentic compassion does not need to be well received. It does not require appreciation. It has no need to change anyone. It is simply an expression of your true nature, not a strategy to get something you want. And here is the paradox. When your kindness becomes this authentic, people are far less likely to resist it. They may not understand it, but they cannot project their turmoil onto it, because it is as solid and unmoving as the earth. You are no longer performing kindness, you are simply being kind. You are not trying to be the good person. You are expressing your authentic self. And this brings us to the final revelation. Where true compassion governs, there is no will for power. And where the will for power dominates, true compassion is absent. But what happens when your compassionate nature reveals another's lack of inner resources? When you show consistent compassion, you are demonstrating emotional abundance. You are showing that you have something to give without needing a return. For those who feel emotionally empty, this can stir a deep feeling of lack. They see your abundance, and it reminds them of their own inner poverty. And here is where it can become difficult. This feeling of lack doesn't just want what you have. It can seek to spoil what you have. People in this state don't think, I wish I had that inner peace. They might think, I need to prove that their peace isn't real. This is why they may test you. They will push your limits, make unreasonable requests, and create scenarios that force you to finally say no. Then, they will use your necessary boundary as evidence that your compassion was false all along. This is a calculated, though often unconscious, effort to pull you down to their level. If they cannot share in your inner wealth, they may try to take it from you. And this brings us back to that vital piece of wisdom. Everything that irritates us in others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But what if people are projecting their own harsh inner world onto your compassion? Consider this. When someone's past is filled with manipulation or neglect, they cannot believe that genuine kindness exists. Their mind struggles to compute that someone would be compassionate without a hidden motive. They project their own way of being onto you. They assume you are being kind to gain something, an advantage, control, admiration, because that is the only reason they would act that way. And here's the subtle trap. They can become focused on exposing your real motives. They might question your past, analyze your every move, and invent complex theories to explain your sincerity. This is a projection of deep suspicion. They are so convinced that true goodwill is impossible that they interpret everything through a filter of distrust. A compliment becomes a form of flattery. An offer of help becomes an attempt to control. Your understanding becomes condescension. And the more you try to prove your pure intentions, the more suspicious they become. You see, defending your compassion can feed their narrative. It proves to them that you must be hiding something, because in their world, an innocent person has no need to defend themselves. This creates a paradox of authenticity. There is an archetypal pattern of the wounded healer, the soul that learns to heal others through its own healing journey. But what happens when your compassion threatens someone's identity, an identity built on their wounds? Some people have constructed their entire sense of self around being hurt, abandoned, or wronged. Their pain has become their story, their claim for attention, their justification for not evolving. When you appear with genuine compassion, you are offering the possibility of healing. But healing means letting go of that wounded identity, and for some, that is the most frightening thing of all. And here is a profound truth. People in this state will often unconsciously sabotage their own healing to remain in the familiarity of their suffering. They will reject your kindness, push you away, and then use your departure as further proof that everyone eventually leaves them. It's a way of punishing you for trying to help, because your help implies they could change. And change is the one thing they fear more than their pain. This explains why the people who seem to need compassion the most are often the ones who reject it most fiercely. They are not just rejecting your help, they are rejecting the possibility of their own transformation. This creates a mental prison where they need you to be the villain in order to maintain their own story of victimhood. But it grows even more complex. When two people meet, it is like the mixing of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed, But what if one person refuses to be transformed by your compassionate nature? When you consistently choose understanding over judgment, you are demonstrating emotional maturity. According to the laws of nature, this can create a sense of inferiority in others. They feel small beside your emotional balance. So, they must find ways to diminish you in their own minds. And here is the subtle method. They will often use your very compassion as a weapon against you. They will call you too nice, naive, or weak, which makes them feel stronger and more realistic by comparison. They cannot attack your compassionate heart directly, so they attack your perceived intelligence, your strength, or your awareness of the real world. They need to believe that to be kind is to be foolish, and this leads to a sad conclusion. Some would rather see themselves as cynical and intelligent than as compassionate and naive. They have confused emotional mastery with intellectual weakness. But this is where the insight becomes truly freeing. The deepest spiritual task is to accept oneself completely, and your authentic presence forces people to confront their own degree of self-acceptance. When you are genuinely kind, you are operating from your true self. You are not performing. You are not calculating. You are simply being. This authenticity acts like a tuning fork. It reveals the dissonance in those around you, and that can make them deeply uncomfortable. And here is the profound part. People who resist your compassion are often those who have never tasted their own authenticity. They have been performing for so long, they cannot believe you are not performing, too. They are caught in a performance trap. They are so accustomed to influencing others through their behavior that they assume everyone else operates the same way. Your genuine spirit disrupts their understanding of how the world functions. This creates a deep inner conflict for them. Their mind cannot reconcile the existence of real kindness with their worldview that everyone is ultimately selfish. So they are left with two options: either rebuild their entire worldview or convince themselves that you are fake. You can guess which path is easier, but this is where this wisdom empowers you. Your vision becomes clear when you look into your own heart. One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. And awakening means cultivating what could be called emotional sobriety. Here is an insight into this state of being. Just as someone recovering from alcohol must maintain sobriety in its presence, an emotionally centered person must learn to stay sober around emotional manipulation. When you are emotionally sober, you can see clearly when another person is projecting their pain onto your compassion. You do not take it personally because you understand its source is not within you. And here is the crucial distinction. Emotional sobriety does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means being compassionate without being naive, empathetic without becoming codependent. This is what we can call conscious compassion. You can see another's pain without taking on their pain. You can understand their projection without accepting their projection. You can be a compassionate presence without becoming a victim. And this changes everything. When you are emotionally sober, another's resistance to your compassion becomes information, not an injury. It tells you about their inner world, not about your worth. This realization allows you to maintain your open heart while protecting your own energy. You do not become harsh in response to their harshness, but you also do not become a doormat. And this brings us to the most vital insight. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And what you choose to become within yourself determines how your kindness is experienced in the world. Here is the ultimate wisdom on this path. People do not resist genuine compassion. They resist the threat that compassion represents to their ego, their armor, their unhealed places. Your task is not to make your kindness more acceptable to those in pain. Your task is to ensure your compassion is authentic, protected by boundaries, and flowing from a place of inner strength. And remember this crucial point: the same compassion that stirs resistance in some creates deep gratitude and connection in others. The only difference is their own level of self-awareness and self-acceptance. So, this is your path. You can continue to be a force for good while protecting yourself from these projections. You can hold on to your authenticity while establishing clear boundaries. You can express your true nature while refusing to be a target for another's inner turmoil. This is the path of inner freedom, becoming fully yourself, regardless of how the world responds. And this is the journey to liberation. When you understand that another's resistance to your kindness is about them, not you, you are free to choose your response. You can be compassionate without being a victim. You can be authentic without being a target. Because ultimately, the goal isn't to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be true to yourself while cultivating relationships with those who are able to see and appreciate your authentic presence. And that, my friend, is the secret to being a kind person in a world that can sometimes resist it. You do not change who you are. You become more deeply who you are, but with wiser boundaries and clearer intentions. Because the old wisdom is right, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. And an awakened person's kindness is unshakable. But here is the final truth you should carry with you. The people who resist your kindness are, in fact, your greatest teachers. They are showing you precisely where you need stronger boundaries, clearer intentions, and a deeper practice of self-acceptance. They are not your enemies. They are your mirrors. And when you can see them as mirrors instead of adversaries, you have mastered the art of being a compassionate presence in a world that sometimes cannot handle it. This is the ability to hold a paradox, to be both compassionate and strong, empathetic and boundaried, understanding and protected. This is the mastery. When you can be kind without needing appreciation, helpful without needing gratitude, and understanding without needing validation, you have achieved true inner freedom. You are no longer a victim of others' projections, and you are no longer a prisoner of your own need for approval. You are simply authentically and powerfully kind, and that changes everything. Remember, the people who react negatively to your kindness are showing you their wounds, not your weakness. Your practice is to stay compassionate while protecting your spirit, setting your boundaries, and choosing to walk with those who can appreciate your authentic nature. Because ultimately, the world does not need less kindness. It needs more people who are kind from a place of strength, not from a place of weakness. And now, you understand the difference. Now you have a map for being authentically kind in a world that sometimes cannot handle that authenticity. The choice is yours. The strength is yours. The freedom is yours. Use it with wisdom.